And welcome back to Air Tycoon Online 3. It's been probably about 24 hours since I last made a significant number of routes. So this is a very good time to reset your pricing. And what I mean by that is you can go ahead and use this Manage All Route tab and kind of reset your prices to kind of what you would prefer. So right now it's an uptick. I think it's 0.7, which is a pretty good uptick. Um, so um, basically, any route that isn't full right now is a pretty bad route and really needs a reduction in prices at least. So what we're going to go ahead and do is just make sure that any route which isn't full right now and has slightly less load factor will be set to slightly less prices. And hopefully this should help our downticks out a little bit because they're still not too great. Also, in other news, we have made some pretty big mistakes again, so I'll show you guys that in a second. And well, luckily they won't happen again because yeah, you'll see what that is. Anyhow, let's go ahead and make sure all the prices are set correctly. Any like ballpark thing like this where you kind of like decrease the load factor range and then decrease the prices will help out your downticks. As you can see, we do have some price reductions. On certain flights which have very bad load factors. So that should be a very good thing. Anyhow, let's go ahead and take a look at our profits. We're only making 790,000 right now, which is a little bit disappointing. You can see we've had some pretty bad downtakes under 500,000. I'm not really sure why this is. The fuel price is a little bit higher than it was kind of before with this big fuel spike. And then for some reason, there was a mini fuel spike. I could not tell you why. I've never seen that before. As you can see, that kind of hit our profits a little bit. And then you see this really big sudden drop. Well, what happened here? And well, that is our staff became unsatisfied again. Yes, this tends to be a recurring thing. It's because every other world I've played so far in Air Tycoon Online 3, every single time my staff have become unsatisfied, it was when I was awake. So I would wake up, log in to order a plane and see, oh, my staff are unsatisfied. Let me take that up. This is the first time I've ever played the game where that tick happens to be in the middle of the night. Um, and yeah, just that little fact alone means every single time I missed it. And let me show you guys my profit during that time. So look, everything's looking fine. And then, whoa. So yeah, we lost a lot of money during that time. It probably cost us the fourth place here. As you can see, we're very racing up. We're guaranteed third in this world, I'm pretty sure, basically. My profit is just drastically higher than June Yao Air. It's significantly higher than CCA. It's probably higher than Kaga. That's pretty hard to say. And it's probably about the same or just a little bit lower than JK Sikistan, and quite a bit lower than Air Asia, who has kind of taken the lead of this world in profit again. Yeah, just using some of my credits there. Still over 4,000 to spy on those players and kind of see what they're up to. So what do I plan to do today? Well, if we take a look at my fleets, we can see we've added the 767-200. And this will probably be the plane of this era. Meaning this is the plane I'm going to take advantage of most, simply because when making 767-200 routes, you don't need to think very much. Every single 767-200 route is one which will make good profit, basically. Unless you really do make a really poor route decision, they will all be full. And that I really like. Basically, this is going to be my main plane of the state. Basically, it's the cheapest ultra long haul plane. I do eventually want to differentiate for larger planes, right? But I don't really want to use 747 SPs as they're not particularly efficient. Mostly they're quite expensive per seat. And even though they have very high satisfaction, which I like, and they're very fast, which I also like, future planes won't be as fast as the 747 SP, which makes them kind of hard to replace with the same number of schedules. So 767s are the way to go. They're also like, yeah, basically just the fact that they're guaranteed to be full no matter what, unless you really make a really bad route with them, especially when you're abusing long haul stopovers. This is going to be the plane of the choice until we get better options. I think the A310, forget what it's called, A310-300. That is also a plane which I'm very interested in. The A310-300 kind of has a specialty, which is the A310-300 is extremely small for a stopover enabled plane, which means you really can make like just the most obscure routes, like literally almost any route pair in the game to a major hub enabled city would be able to fill an A310 on a stopover route. So yeah, also look forward to hopefully at some point taking advantage of A310s. Now the 767 is quite expensive per seat, which is excuse me here, a slight downside. But once again, with the good satisfaction of it, the relatively high fuel efficiency, extremely versatile range, it's just kind of, to me at least, a little bit of a no-brainer to try and maximize my usage of the 767. And I do also want to, when using the 767, try to find routes which are otherwise like difficult to fly. For example, I normally probably wouldn't want to fly a route like Genzo to New York, as a city with only 300 business and tour feels a little bit bad to fly to with a super long haul plane. But the 767 is so small that it's really not a problem. We can easily fill it. Yeah, which is just such a really like nice blessing. And yeah, we can kind of spam out routes without too much thought. Like just go ahead and maximize the range, because the 767 is considerably and like just a lot slower than 747s that we've been using so far. And what that means is the range which you can get 3 stops or from 3 to 4 schedules per week on a stopover is very low, which means you'll basically always be stuck on 3 schedules per week. It is very difficult to find a single stopover route in the world which is so long it causes you to drop to 2 schedules per week. And basically, the result of this kind of little fact is basically you just want to make sure every single 767 route is as long as possible, because the longer the route, the more profitable it is. Just because you're flying like as a proportion a higher percentage of the week. Basically, your plane utilization is a little bit higher. I think that's probably the easiest way to explain it. Yeah. Anyhow, ooh, what is this city? I've never heard of this city before. Calibo. But is this close enough to LA for a? Nope, it is not. Okay, that's a little bit of hopium there. As you guys know, I am always looking for more 747 routes to LA, 747-100 specifically, right? Because we always need more 747-100 routes. Oh, that's a little bit too far and not a proper stopover route. So we can use something like Fortaleza instead. Fortaleza. Okay, I think I said that wrong. Okay, maybe I said it right. I don't really know. Anyhow, yeah, let's go ahead and make more and more stopover routes to Los Angeles. Yeah, like once again, Los Angeles is just such a crazily big city in this game that there's no reason not to use it as much as possible. Let's see if we can make a 4 stopover right here, actually, or 4 schedule. Just because I think something like this should be valid and should get 4 schedules per week. I think, yeah, there we go. Yeah, I think this was just like a little bit of an opportunity to, because as you can see, the route is coming from an angle, which just kind of lets us do that. So why not? Yeah, it looks like Islamabad is a bit too far, but a route like Tashkent is indeed in range. And once again, we could look for a 4 stopover here with something like Belize City. And oh my God, I need to start clicking LA2 by default. A bit annoying that the game doesn't automatically select the airport with slots. Like LA1 literally has 0 slots. So like automatically selecting it there is a little bit annoying for me. But that's okay. Yeah, once again, we can just continue to make literally any stopover route we see. Especially with like a driver city like LA, we don't even have to think. Route is guaranteed to be full 100% of the time. I do like wonder if routes like Georgetown, like even cities this small, would manage to fill a route to LA. So let's kind of see what kind of plane is not able to be full to LA. So a route like this even has pretty low variance, a 747-100 to Antofagasta. Like as you can see, it's not too profitable, under 3 million. The other half to stop is Malaga, so the 747 is not that profitable altogether. right? But if even a city like that with a 747 is full, something as small as a 767 should have no trouble, right? Um, yeah. Anyhow, let's just go ahead and keep going because there's so many routes available that yeah, it's just easy going. So I think what will be a little bit harder is using those 747-100s we ordered with these planes. Now, when will I stop ordering 747-100s? I honestly don't think I will. Um, 747-100s are just uh, they're not incredibly versatile or anything like that, right? But when they are usable, they just make a solid profit. They don't blow you out of they don't blow the world. They're not amazing. They're not terrible. Right? They're just good. Like basically all the really good routes, which would be very, very profitable with 747-100s, I've already taken, right? Um, so the remaining ones are just good. So, there's nothing out here that's going to completely blow like the world away or something like that. What we're really looking for is just to find like anywhere where we can use the 747-100s and not make a terrific loss or anything like that, and just make good money. That's kind of the goal with the 747-100s at this point in the game. Um, is just to continue to make some money whilst like it's probably the most that you could make with a plane that costs 50,000, right? Like what other plane that costs 50,000 could potentially be making something like 5K per week, right? Not many planes for sure, and that's like the main goal of using 747s, right? So yes, it is like kind of apparent though at this point that a lot of the 747 routes are just a little bit too small for the plane that are remaining, right? Because it's so limited in range that just like just over uh, or just around 10,000 kilometers, I think it's 9,800, right? Eventually you do just run out of routes which are big enough that have stopovers within that range, right? Um, Doing something like this using what is this? Qingdao and Tampa with Athens in the middle means that one side of the route will probably not be full. Excuse me there. Let's take a look at like Athens, and I've been making some stopover routes with Athens, which is a new hub, right? And if we take a look at some of the worst stopover routes, like let's say Cincinnati, it's oh I haven't made that one yet. Okay, Louisville. It's not the best, right? So there might be a little bit of fluctuations, but it actually does look like it is big enough. Though I haven't made many routes that are significantly smaller than that. Let's see how Caracas is doing. Yeah, it actually looks like after those initial downtakes have like passed, that this is probably big enough for 3-stop 747 routes. Yeah, I forgot that like the 3-stop is a significant. You need significantly less demand, right, to make a 3-stop work. So yeah, that's actually pretty good. That means we can go ahead and continue to use Athens and Moscow. And yeah, I think another reason why these are starting to work is just the World Traveler Index is going up. That is something I forgot to consider. It is now almost 3,200. Uh, right? And when I was making a lot of these considerations on finding 747 routes, it was actually a little bit lower than that, if I were to guess. Something like 7,000, or 7,000. Well, that's a crazy World Traveler Index. Not 7,000. Something um, like 3,000 ish or 2,900. That's kind of the World Traveler Index. I was considering that this world would be staying at for a long time, but we got pretty lucky, so we got some steady growth here. Um, I think another reason why the World Traveler Index is like feels like it's going up quite a bit is simply because I'm playing less per day now that I'm not using the Tupolev Boeing strategy. Right, the Tupolev Boeing strategy is incredibly time consuming. So when I use it, it feels like I'm playing forever. And when I don't use it, it feels like oh, suddenly a turn passed. And like, yeah, I guess that's kind of a pretty big difference there. Um, Once again, if I have extra time, I do want to use the Boeing Tupolev strategy just a little bit more as Boeing and Tupolev's are still right now, despite having beaten to the death this strategy, probably the highest ROI like flights I can find as long as I can continue to make stopovers. I think one little disadvantage with it is we have to continuously open new bases to find enough 747 100 routes. Like for example, some of the New York ones I made are pretty bad. Let me show you. So yeah, like during the downtakes, as you can see, these things really struggle and probably barely break even at just like 2K per stopover half. Um, yeah, I'm not even sure if that is a break even plane right there. So yeah, Wait, do I have any more 747-100s left? I don't think I do here. So I don't think this will be a valid stopover, right? Or like a good stopover to make with no stay. Yeah, there's we have one more. Okay, perfect. Um, that is going to be all our 747-100s. How do I want to do this? I've made a bunch of each route. The 767-200s want to be priced at 1.3, and most of the 747s want to be priced at 1.25. So I think the plan for that is just to price them all at 1.3 and adjust the routes which aren't doing well back down. That's probably the easiest way to go here. Okay, that's a little bit too far. Interesting. Okay, maybe Semarang is close enough to be in range. And Medan, these are cities we need to kind of take advantage of to our major European hubs like London and Paris. Um, yeah, we haven't been using London and Paris type cities for a while, and this is way too far. Okay, never mind. Let's do Medan first to Frankfurt. Um, Wait, that's actually a good 747-100 route. Okay, I should save that for that purpose. Um, yeah, kind of once again, like it's pretty important to me to make sure to not use 747-100 routes uh, with other planes because, well, we're going to run out of the 747-100 routes, which are good first, right? So, um, using other planes whenever possible, and that is a weird configuration where I remember to fix one of the counters or offices, right, and not the other. That's quite interesting. Yeah, anyway, so like, yeah, make sure we use routes which are out of range of the 747-100, just so we never kind of be like, oh, I have a 747-100 and I wish I could use this route. Um, right, the 767s can fly farther, right, so might as well take advantage of that and only use these on routes which are too far for the 747-100, and that is too far for even the 767. Yeah. One thing I do wish this game had is more plane variants, as it kind of really groups together certain plane variants. Like, for example, uh, every 767-200 has the range of a 767-200ER, right? In real life, there are many variants of 767, different engine types, different max takeoff weights, and thus different ranges of even 767-200, right? So without these distinctions, we can't say buy a cheaper plane where we want a lower distance flight and a lower distance route, for example, right? That doesn't work. We have to buy either the most expensive plane for each one of these routes, or something like that, right? Um, or I don't know which variant like the game models and is we're using, right? I don't know that. But is this two? Did I find the range, which is two schedules per week? Wow, I think I did. So let's not do that, as two schedules per week would be drastically unprofitable, I'm pretty sure, because that's a 50% reduction in service by losing one schedule per week there. So that is definitely not worth it. If you ever find the two schedule per week range, guys, be very careful about that because, um, yeah, that's not going to be very profitable. Yeah, anyhow, let's continue to make routes which just, only the 767 can fly in this extremely long haul. Um, range. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I just love this plane too because in real life, I think it was kind of the plane which kind of not started, but maybe a bit started, kind of the possibility, not really the implementation of, but the possibility of more point to point travel, right? Is kind of hub and spoke has always been the only system which did work a long time ago, thanks to systems like ETOPS, which required planes to have four engines to cross large oceans. Um, so with systems like ETOPS and the fact that there probably just wasn't very much demand for travel, especially between long haul destinations a long time ago, right? Um, Basically, every airline had to be structured in a hub and spoke model where they funneled passengers together from all sorts of short haul destinations and then had one trunk route to a long haul destination, right? And the 767 was probably the first plane available that made it economically viable to just fly directly to kind of where you wanted to go. which was pretty cool. And I'm not sure most airlines even implemented this right away. Um, Mostly because, right, there just wasn't enough demand even then to fly directly somewhere most of the time, right? And all airlines had been structured around hub and spoke for so long that it would have been a pretty abrupt transition to suddenly switch to something else. Uh, but it made it possible, which I think is very, very nice. Um, and the 787, which followed, really, really started the point to point travel phase, which I think is just a better system for most people, right? Of course, there is still a place for hub and spoke. I'm not saying it's bad. It's definitely a way that companies need to be able to use in order to survive and make money, right? Which is the goal. Uh, but yeah, I hate stops. Always felt like they're kind of like bad if the company is handling your bags. You really don't know whether you're gonna get them on the other side. All sorts of little niggling issues when you have to fly. Uh, Hub and spoke that yeah why not just avoid with point to point. Point to point is also in a sense considerably more efficient in the fact that you only have to do one takeoff and landing. Usually the routing is shorter. um, you don't have to spend time at an airport. Like, that's not more efficiency for fuel or anything, but that's more efficiency for you, which is still valuable, right? So yeah, anyhow, that's just a bunch. Okay, that is really an unvalid stopover. I think if we do anything, it would have to be something like this to be valid. Yeah, that's a pretty cool stopover route, Africa to Honolulu. Yeah, you definitely wouldn't see that every single day. That's a really dumb stopover route too. Like, I cannot imagine how few people in real life would take a stopover routing like that. Can we do something like this? Oh, that is valid. Wow, that is a long stopover. Imagine flying all the way up to Europe only to fly all the way back down to like Davao City or something like that. Uh, that's a crazy flight. Like, that's an extra so far, right? Like these stopovers are so ruthlessly impractical. It is quite funny. Like, can you imagine flying like two-thirds around the world just to take a flight that would have been like almost half the distance if you didn't fly almost around the world twice. Like, wow, what a company where we just fly the most unrealistic but most broken routes in the entire game. So, um, yeah, like who would ever take a routing from Brasilia to Kota Kimbalu through Paris, right? Or I guess more realistically, we just have a route from Kota Kimbalu to Paris and then to Brasilia or wherever that was. But that is also just a ruthlessly unrealistic route, right? In real life, without the short haul pull, I guess we do have a considerable amount of short haul, um, short haul routes, right? But yeah, like without the short haul legs, like these would just be just the most ruthlessly impractical routes around. And I guess we do have some short haul there we can pretend that people are connecting, but I mean, in real life, people actually care about the amount of time you spend in the connection, right? And the amount of time we spend in the connection is random. Right? Because there's no planning about when the flights land and depart and all that good stuff, right? So, um, how long is your stopover? We don't know. Test your luck, you know. Anyhow, Port Villa is really not big. Hanira, Hanira. I don't want to try and say that. I've never heard of this place before, um, except for funnily enough in other airline games. Uh, But yeah, there we go. That's a bunch of 767 stopovers. We're probably going to continue to expand with 767s only until it is time to start replacing our planes. Unless the A310 300 comes out. I don't actually remember at all when that plane comes out. But when it does, we'll probably use some of those too. And just open stopover routes that nobody else really would. And just make sure we don't really get competition, because that's one really good way to kind of make the game less about micromanagement is just to open mostly routes which would just never get competition, thanks to how small they can be with stopover routes, and kind of just take advantage of that to kind of spend less time microing. Of course, thanks to my instant slot requests, it is and instant plane requests, which I guess most people would never have. right? It is far more convenient to run a big airline for me than it is for most of you. So actually, I would recommend switching over from Tupolev Boeing to this kind of 767 and what's it called? DC 1030 or Boeing 747 SP, whichever of the three you prefer, or a mix of all three like me, right? Much earlier, as you'll have a significantly lower plane count, and you can probably keep it. I think it's very reasonable, even for somebody with like a full-time school or job, to maintain an airline with about 1,000 aircraft, right? Because you just have to come online and request something like 50 per day, right? That's very doable. That's just 5 logins per day. Um, Maybe one in the morning, one at lunch, and a few times after like something like that. And you can definitely slot all of them by flying ultra long haul, right? Anyhow, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. We will continue to expand like this off camera. The passenger count, as you can see, is growing much slower now that we've gone from Tupelo Boeing, as you can see in the steep part, to other strategy. And here's our overnight mistake. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.